Hey, Roger Martin here from Billings, Montana. Again, reporting to you about conservative views you're not going to see on public television. Levin is one of my favorites, and he's on Fox News. You generally have to subscribe to get his videos or to get more clips. Here's what he says on Hannity.
You can go in any order. I want your take on the results, your take on the media, and your reaction to Jeff Sessions' resignation today.
Well, you know, Sean, in many ways, it's one and the same things. The media were very angry today at that press conference, and you have to wonder why. I thought the president, they said, had a lousy night. You know, the Democrats take about 34 seats, and I want the American people to understand what that means is they have an 11-member majority in the House, and with that 11-member majority, most of which are Republican seats, they intend to do everything they can to cripple the executive branch and cripple the presidency, and I'll get back to that in a minute. What we saw today in that press conference was a disgrace to this country. Imagine the world watching what took place there. These kamikaze journalists, obviously in a coordinated attack on this president, they're trying to cripple this presidency. They are trying to sabotage this presidency. It's not going to work, but that's what they're doing. They are furious that this blue wave was a blue tinkle last night, because that's all it was. And they've been talking about blue wave. They've been beating down this president, beating down the Republican Party, beating down these candidates. They pull out their racist tool to use, their white supremacy tool to use. They pull out their Nazi tool to use, their Hitler tool to use. They tried everything they could. You can't tell the difference between the Democrat talking points and the media in this country, because in many respects, they're one and the same thing. Survey after survey over the decades have shown us.
Now, Levine says something very important. The CIA is involved with the media. It's also involved with the Democratic Party, and it's also involved with the destruction of this country in many ways. And it's also involved with the elites that are involved with the Nazis and that are involved with socialist programs. Now, it takes a while to research and to find these connections, but they're there. And conservative media is really fighting mainstream media, not for real news, but for influence and for information and for education. There's more involved in this than just news. You're going to get some real education, a lot more realistic education out of conservative media than you ever will out of mainstream or liberal media. Keep that in mind.
That most in the media are liberal. Most live and operate on the eastern seaboard and the western seaboard. Well, look what's going to happen now in the House of Representatives. Look at the diversity of Marxists and Leninists, pretty much. The Finance Committee, Maxine Waters, L.A. The, the House Oversight Committee, Gerald Nadler, Manhattan. The House Intelligence Committee, Adam Schiff, L.A. Elijah Cummings heading the Oversight Committee as well. He will be from where? Baltimore. And then, of course, you have Nancy Pelosi, San Francisco. So over here and over here. What about the middle of the country and the rest of the country? They're not going to be represented because the Democrat Party is controlled by these hardcore leftists. I am sick and tired of these media types trying to hijack these press conferences. These press conferences are for the American people. CNN, you don't even have an audience. It's not for you. It's not for MSNBC. And it's not for every harebrained, malcontent, miscreant, Democrat liberal dressed up as a journalist. You know, we have standards in this country for doctors, for lawyers, for truck drivers, for plumbers, for electricians. What are the standards for journalists? Fake Tapper. Fake Tapper was a spokesman for a Democrat congresswoman. Then he was a spokesman for handgun controlling. Now he's a journalist. There's a guy that used to work for Obama who works at CNN. Now he's a national security reporter. What are their standards? There are no standards for journalists today. And let me tell the journalists, you say, tell the president, stop saying the media are the enemy of the people. Now, he's not saying the whole media. He's said that 1,000 times. Let me tell the media something. The president isn't the enemy of the people either. And you should stop your campaign of trying to cripple him and destroy him. They're upset because there was no blue wave. They're upset they lost in 2016. They're upset they lost in 2018. And guess what? They're going to lose in 2022. Now, as for Sessions,
they are going to lose in 2020. But there are some major issues we're going to have to face as a nation. And one of the major issues is voting, fraud in voting. We need to get a control on that, and legally they need to go after these fraudulent people. The fight is still on in Florida, believe it or not, and in Texas even, and in California. The fight is still on to try to get some legal voting standards that are really authentic and not fraudulent. We are in for major battles from here on out, and this is just one of them. If they can overthrow Florida and Texas and California in what goes on, you'll never have conservative people in leadership positions ever in the Congress or Senate. They'll be replaced with liberal nut cases, and we will be done as a nation. That's how important this voting is. That's how important accurate counting is. It's not just voting, but it's accurate counting. And we've got to get that into our heads, and we have to have this polled and policed legally, so it's watched from a conservative side as much, if not more so, than a liberal side, because they're getting away with voting fraud in California, Florida especially, and Texas also, and other states as well. Even states like Montana are having voting fraud. It's not just the big populated states. Michigan, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Carolinas. This voting fraud is a big issue.
it's a constitutional crisis, don't you know? What's a constitutional crisis? The president got rid of a cabinet secretary, the attorney general. He's only been telling us this for 10 months, what he plans to do. It's like the Saturday Night Massacre. They drag out John Dean, the guy that doesn't even have a law license anymore, the guy who served time, as I seem to recall, through Watergate. Now he's a contributor to one of CNN or MSNBC. There's an authority, and what does he say? It's like the president's plotting to kill somebody, a murder. Well, so he gets rid of Sessions. So what happens? He has an acting attorney general. Then I hear these so-called experts say, he can't do that. There's a rule of succession. Of course he can do that. Moreover, they say, it's like the Saturday Night Massacre. How? Did he fire Mueller? Did he order the attorney general to fire Mueller? Did he order the deputy attorney general to fire Mueller? He hasn't ordered anyone to do anything to Mueller. Mueller's still, roaming the countryside looking for people to prosecute and challenge and so forth and so on. Nothing's happened. But Schumer's there. I think we have a constitutional crisis. Let me tell you something. This is an important point. I have said that the appointment of Mueller is unconstitutional. It violates the Appointments Clause. And Schumer proves my point every day. You know why? Because if Mueller was just like an assistant U.S. attorney, a U.S. attorney, they wouldn't keep saying, he's separate, protect him, he's different, he has to report to himself effectively. That's why his appointment is unconstitutional, because it's supposed to go to the Senate and be confirmed. Just a little nicety there that I wanted to mention.
Such an important point. I'll give you the full link on this. We're about 10 minutes into it. But Levin, I like him. He's sharp. He knows constitutional stuff. He knows our liberties. And he is fighting. I recommend that you get into his show, subscribe to it. He's one of the top leaders in the conservative group and voices. Very sharp. Again, it's Roger Martin from Billings, Montana. We are in a constitutional and moral war over the corrupt major liberal media and on voting and counting votes and on things that are being done unconstitutional by elite people. You know it, I know it, and many other people know it. Who is going to win? The elite groups, the people, the conservatives, or the liberals? There is no middle ground on this stuff. You're either liberal and in the elite group, or you're conservative and you're with the people and you're trying to get things done legally and constitutionally. There is no middle ground on this. Again, Roger Martin from Billings, Montana. Good day. And let's get after these elected criminals. I call them criminals because they are. Sessions was soft. He's almost criminal-minded. Mueller, if you look at him and what he's involved with legally, he can be nothing but a legal criminal. Nothing but a legal criminal. He's involved with so many criminal activities. He can't be anything else but a legal criminal. Acting illegally. Acting illegally. He is a criminal with a legal authority that should be in Guantanamo Bay, should be charged with treason, and should be, in my opinion, executed because of all of his illegal activity. At the very least, he should be locked away and never allowed out. Life, at the very least. But that goes with the Clintons, it goes with Obamas, it goes with so many legal people around this Clinton Foundation, and all the things with the pedophiles, and all the things Uranium One, and all the things with the DOJ that are constitutionally criminal and illegal and treasonous. If we were in a physical state of war, it would be insane how many people would have to be arrested in leading DOJ positions, FBI, CIA, in the judiciary systems. All these elected officials that are abusing their powers, it would be massive. It would be, I'm sure it would be close to 100 people, at least, for sure, 50 or 60 leading officials, at least, and I'm including federal judges as well. This is bad news, and we're in for a battle of survival from here on out until the second coming. This is Roger Martin from Billings, Montana. Mark my word, things are being set up, and either in 19 or 20, probably in 19, Trump will have to get the military records out, arrest these people, and they will have to be put in Guantanamo Bay in Cuba. He's already put $200 million in expanding that prison. He's already put 100 military police down there. They're getting ready for tribunals, and they're getting ready to lock these people away on physical evidence which already exists in the military. Mark my words. Watch my video on this. Q has talked about this. Q Anthony has talked about this. InfoWars has talked about this. And so have other people. Again, Roger Martin from Billings, Montana. You're not going to hear this on the news. Good day.